Well, that's as usual. Welcome everyone. This is our first time we do a Blackbird Cloud Banter on our lunch table. So this is where we usually do lunch and basically argue about a lot of things in life also. So today we decided to put cameras on the side and record it so that we can publish it out, so that you guys can also enjoy a little bit of an entertainment of what we do on a normal basis. Today we have an interesting topic, which is AI in the modern day. So we have here two sides of of the table. Me and Tom, we feel like the world will end in the next year because everybody's using AI and nobody is thinking anymore. So we're thinking of becoming a bus driver in Schiermonnikoog by next year. And these two guys, they basically prompt engineer their work every day. Well, Melvin hasn't wrote a single line of code for the past 2 weeks. Yuri probably also the same thing. So, yeah. Try not to. We have a few things that we want to talk about that are a list of experiences that we had. Yuri have a list of notes that AI generated, of course, and I've already seen of it.
I'm well prepared.
It's 10,000 lines of God knows what. Maybe but pick something on your list, you.
Yeah, so let's start with the obvious, right? So AI promises efficiency and in work.
Yeah.
It sure does, right? So I'm wondering, we all work with different companies, a number of different companies actually, whether it is for, doing some software engineering work, some cloud engineering work, or doing some DevOps work. So I guess the question is the promise being delivered, right? So how is AI-assisted coding already changing the velocity of the teams that you're working with and in your work, right? And are there new bottlenecks that have emerged because of that?
I mean, there's new challenges, right? So it's not necessarily a bottleneck. So what I see personally is that with AI, it becomes sort of an amplifying effect of developers. So let's say you're someone who can make really awesome products. It will just amplify the speed that you make awesome products. But on the other hand, if you're a terrible developers who really like to write bad codes and never looked at your code that you wrote or tested, then it will generate 10,000 lines of codes that probably is going to be crappy.
All right, but yeah, from what I hear is that it doesn't really change anything. It's just the same, but indeed amplified, more efficient, faster, right? So you can make good things faster, you can make bad things faster. That's what you're saying.
I'm not seeing from people around me a giant increase in the volume of code being produced. I'm not seeing stories flowing through the pipelines faster. I'm not seeing myself producing more features more faster. I'm using it a bit now more, and it's nice. And it maybe I do some more testing or documenting than I would normally do, right? So that's good, maybe. The things I'm not so inclined to do are easier to do, but the core coding, well, it's more wrangling the AI than actually. Well, it might be perfect, performance. No,
you're stuck in a loop of like, it generates a code, it broke something, and then you ask it to generate something again, and it broke the same.
And I'm spending reviewing the code is really hard. Reviewing is hard, right? Reading is harder than writing code. And I need to read more code because I didn't write it myself.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? So it does change how everything works, right? So you are indeed. It does feel a bit like you have a very fast learning, most of the time fast learning assistant next to you, right? And you can tell it high over what you want to do. You can make a plan and ask it to execute it. And then you have to sort of, judge the work, right? And see if it is how you envisioned it, if it did things that it's not supposed to be doing, or if it missed some parts, and then you need to read it, indeed judge it, and start prompting again. If you're not happy with it, right? And coming back to what you mentioned, that you get stuck in this loop. I mean, I love that loop. That loop is great if it's, the less you have to do, and it will just build things, test things, validate things, and cycle back. I think that's really powerful. But I also do notice that AI is a tool like many others, and there's also skill to be had at it, right? You can get better at it. I mean, the tools themselves are improving as well. The models are improving, the tools are improving, but you still need to be able to, get some skills in using these tools properly to get the most out of it, right? Because if you are, I remember my day one trying to do something with GitHub Copilot. Not great, right? You ask it to build something.
It hallucinates a lot, Copilot, back in the days.
It does something, and you're like, okay, maybe, but it's not very accurate. But if you now look at what we've been using mostly is Cloud Code, right? Which is much better in making big plans, making a big plan before actually executing anything, right? So first, that makes the iterative phase already a bit better, right? Because you can first have it make a plan, think if you agree with that, and then it can do an implementation of that, right? So instead of having to read hundreds of lines of code, you can first read a couple of hundred lines of plan, right?
Well, I'm gonna come back to the reading part later, but
and then you take that, you make your improvements there.
So you made a huge app, right, with Claude now without writing a single line of code. Like, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good to prototype things quickly, right? You have an idea, I want to build, I don't know, this. We needed a new front end for some application that we use, and normally it's only the API, so front end is nice, you can click around. Well, let's try it with Claude, right?
Yeah.
Set the project up, do the basic things yourselves, just really basic frameworking, and then just say, all right, and now I need the front end, just do it. Make a plan and then run it.
Yeah.
Worked pretty good, but you see if you start fresh, it can go wild. So you need some guardrails to guide it in the right direction, right? And setting up.
He's smiling already.
Of course I am.
And setting up like some document explaining all the things you want, what you don't want, and how you want your AI to behave helps a lot in keeping the right track.
Actually, writing good stories.
Basically writing good stories, and then
that helps as well.
Reviewing
right?
all the work. Yeah.
I am very fond of connecting my Claude to Jira, and just ask it to read the stories, read the epics, have that be part of the context before you start doing stuff. But I agree with what Melvin says, right? And that is part of the AI skill, right? You need to give it good examples. So you really need to tell it what to do. And in case of Cloud Code, I really enjoy making sub-agents because it gives those examples and it tells your AI what to do, right? So if you indeed start from scratch, then you're going to say, I want to make a project that does this and this and this, but in your head, you already know which stack you want to use, right? It's better to already put that into the, sort of system prompts of the sub-agent there, right? Where it already knows which stacks you want to use, which tech you want to use. Because next thing you know, it starts generating some 1990s
Fortran code or something like that.
Basic. Yeah, I'm sure that will work just fine, but it's not what we're
maybe
looking forward to build, and
But I mean, coming back to the whole loop here, right? So you said you're connecting it to Jira, so at some point getting the context in from Jira to make the features out. And I've also heard stories about code reviews on Gemini, for example, and your GitHub, right? So will it create a situation where you have a lot of these, well, let's say bad agents or developers usually that takes those, generate random garbage, reviewed by Gemini or anything, right? And then Gemini said, oh, yeah, gives you false positive because it tends to agree with most of the things that you make.
Well,
and then get feedback.
The AI doesn't know actually what you're trying to build, right? Like it only knows what you tell it. So it can never perfectly review in that way and perfectly build, right? That's you really need to put in what the goal is, because it can just start building random stuff and testing that does the random thing, but is that actually
what you want? Yeah.
What you actually wanted in the beginning, right? That's
assuming that the goal is already written on Jira, right? So let's say you get a bug ticket. Yeah. Let's say it's like, okay, just these and these features, they're broken.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of nuance in, like, you can say, well, this doesn't work, but what it actually should do, that requires quite a lot of domain knowledge and like actually knowledge about your product to have a specific, actual, smart goal of what you're building, right? That's
So giving that context will help a lot to achieve things. So
but it also means that your AI can't really perfectly do it.
And I think also for that PR review, that's a difficult one, right? So I think when you use I see you have two loops there basically, right? So you have the I'm developing something loop.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's your PR review loop, and you tell your AI different things there, right? So for the review, I'm looking for I want my AI to look for different things, right? First of all, I think I want a summary of the changes, because, well, that's one of the PR or the AI challenges, I would say, is that the PRs get much bigger, right? They span across many more files than anyone is willing to read in a quick PR review.
It should have been tagged like this PR, this code changes are AI generated or something like that. And then you could see clearly, like, it generates a lot of files in a lot of places. Yeah, and it's sometimes hard to explain for the person who generates that to also explain what are the changes. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So what I want is a proper summary of the changes, right? So that I can check which things are more important to check.
Yeah.
Right, and I can judge how much impact the changes would have on the app, right? And then there's a few other aspects you can check, right? So say we have an agreement on a repository that if you add some code or you add the new API path, whatever, you document it, right? You can have the AI check what was for the changes that were made, with documentation was that been added? For the changes that were made, were tests modified, added, right? Is my code coverage still good? And there's another few of these things where you can just have the AI check for these more technicalities, right? To check if all these things are in order. And then, of course, you can also check for, given the context of the PR, right? The change requested, right? Your Jira ticket or whatever you have. Does this change make any sense? Right? But that is a hard one to check.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, I've had situations where I decided to do some manual changes. It was the worst idea, of course. And
Best
then
idea.
I ended up breaking some production pipelines here and there. And then after the fact, I asked my Claude to review the PR, and then it caught all the issues, right? So then I felt like, okay, feel quite stupid now. What's the problem in having the AI do that review, right? Maybe it doesn't catch anything, right? But even it catches 1 in 4 issues, that's still better than 0 in 4.
I don't know. So, what do you guys think about the difference between human reviewing, let's say, a human generated code? Not that much changes.
It's just another. I think it can work fine as just like another step in your pipeline, like you're linting in your pipeline.
Yeah,
you're testing, you're running integration tests, right? These are all things that check if everything's okay. It doesn't guarantee that your changes are good and working. Mm-hmm. They just verify that they're broken if they're broken, right? And that's the same thing, I think. For the AI review, it can show you things that you have fucked up. But actually verifying it, that's not what it's doing, right? It's just only showing you possible issues, but it's not. It can't sign off. It can't actually validate it.
No, exactly. But what I do think is interesting for repositories that are already very well set up, right? That have, for instance, very high test coverage.
Yeah.
Right, and on unit, component, and integration level, even, right? It makes it easier to rely. To accept changes from AI, which seem hard to grasp at that point. But if you're looking at your test and everything goes green, and you're like, okay,
I mean,
looks good to me, right? So that helps. But if you have a code base with none or very poor test coverage,
which is in some cases
it's very easy
lot of
to.
those.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
those, sadly.
It's easy to introduce regression, right? So I think,
I mean, sadly, it's not even regression. Sometimes, I mean, I saw a PR coming in that's AI generated. The changes are not that big, right? You can't clearly see what's going on. You ask the guy to explain it, they have no clue, kind of. It's like, trust it blindly.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those.
At some point, you have to trust your colleagues that they're not rogue agents just producing random stuff, but that they're actually reliable people. That's
but
always been true. It's more true
You
maybe.
need AI
and
for
what is
that,
the
yeah.
difference there? Right? I mean, you have people working with you, and they bring you a PR. I mean, what
you
do
have
you look
less
at,
of
right?
that. You have less of that false positive that, let's say, you have an AI generated content, or not content, but AI generated code to fix your bug, and then an AI generated test that validate if the fix is there. But then when you run it, you think like, oh, this actually doesn't
It's a
fit.
great Dunning-Kruger tool, right? Like if you have blind faith in yourself and
Yeah.
you just produce without thinking about it, it makes you more able to do that.
Yeah, you're cocky. You're
your
confident.
productivity increases, even if that productivity is not necessarily very positive, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah, it's
that's
the same as we said in the beginning, right? It just amplifies the developer, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It can be very dangerous. Yeah.
I mean, yes. I mean, we're all.
But are you saying this is the death of junior or bad engineers? Because it does.
No, I think so. The thing is that what developer needs is the knowledge of how things work, right? So I'm not talking about like super deep knowledge, but at least some context of how things work. So if you jump into a new code base, if you jump into a new language, for example, right, or new tools, you need to understand what it does to kind of guide the AI a little bit, right? So that part I think is missing in some of the junior developers that I saw. Like they just jump in and try to fix the bug that they're.
I suppose that's
right.
true. If I look at how it works for myself, especially when I mentioned this how Cloud Code now runs, right, where you can build a plan, right, you can spend quite a bit more time on architecting a solution, right? So if you're already good at that, right, then you don't have to spend too much time on the implementation, which might be great work for juniors, right? If you're seniors or your tech leadership, whatever you have, those make big plans and cut it up into small work items, and you can have your juniors start there. Get experience, familiarize themselves, get better, learn how the code base
and
works.
that's the key word, learn it, right?
But
so instead of just like ticket crunching,
Now,
taking the
true,
bug in, and
but
then
now you
fixing
may
it.
have less need for people doing that implementation, right? The junior jobs easily.
Yeah, the less knowledge
explained.
you need, the
Replaced.
easier it is to be automated. Yeah, in this way. Yeah.
No, that's true. But even if you have a lot of knowledge and you're very good on the high over, right? Doing the implementation is just so much faster. So,
that's an interesting.
I feel very
take.
empowered myself.
Yes.
I feel like I can make very good, big high over plans. Sometimes I'm not always equally willing to do the implementation at all times. But now I just send it.
I know what to. We know what to spot, right? So if we say, okay, there are 10 APIs that you want to change how the, let's say, blogging works, because we use an old library and we want to switch it to a newer one, right? So you want to change all that log libraries across 10 different files. You just say, okay, go look here, change everything there. Now we know what to look at, right? So if they're doing a hallucinated things or any random log library started to pop up or appears, then we know what to look at. But for someone who just jump in, then it's kind of hard to spot these, right? So they will get.
Okay, but they have you on the team, right? So you can do a PR review.
So we will get more of that influx, and we're gonna have to spend our time mostly reviewing a lot of stuff, and that becomes like a bottleneck on its own.
Yeah. No, I do see that, right? So since the time spent typing code gets smaller, right? You spend more time at reviewing those PRs.
So
That is definitely fact. But are there different things you look for when you review what is mostly AI generated code?
well, not really, right? So most of the time when I review something, it doesn't matter if it's AI generated or human generated, right? At the end, somebody human sends me a PR or an MR. What I ask is, can you explain what you do here?
Yeah,
Right.
with an AI, I'm more willing, I'm more critical, maybe even than with a junior, right? I'm more willing to say, go back. I don't agree with even the style, right?
But it's easier.
Like
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
the
easier
AI
to say.
Yeah, just say, well, but also
There
right,
is no
it's like-
emotional connection there.
There's no
between
emotional
the-
connection. There's also like there are. It's possible to have differences in how you prefer to do things, right? And how your style, what you think is important, and that can say, well, okay, if you think this is the way to do it, fine. And with the AI, I don't have that feeling of okay, well,
This is my way.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is my way.
Yeah.
I want it my way. Well, I have some senior developer that I know of have that kind of like, okay, if you send me a PR, it has to be this way.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Maybe if I get more juniors again, then I'll be a changed man. You don't know. No.
Changed man.
All right. Okay, but there's no specific things you'd be looking for. You don't approach it in a different way.
No, so should review always be human? As in, like, should review always involve the party that generates or the guy who generates it and the guy who will review it and have them be in a discussion or in a talk rather than relying mostly on, I don't know, AI reviewed changes, for example?
I mean, I like the AI review, but I see it more as an assistant, right,
Yeah.
to the review, and it can already check a few things, and especially like when we said, right, these PRs can get big. How having some assistance there is nice.
Yeah, it's definitely like a linter step. It's just a step in your
Yeah.
pipeline rather than actual.
Yeah,
Review,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I really do feel like I do really like to lean on tests more and more and more, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't really want to read a couple of 100 lines of code, and I mean you'll read it, right? But you'll not try and understand it line by line, see if
So-
it makes sense. Can we do this in a more efficient way or whatever, right? I just want to see a bottom line where it's functional. Of course, the code has to be clean and dry and whatnot. But still, I just want to see the functionality confirmed. I just want to know that you haven't broken anything else, right? And having a great test coverage does make it so that it's more easy to blindly rely on tests that
Yeah.
everything is still fine.
But I think that's independent of AI generated or not, right? So at the end.
That's true. That's
Right,
true.
So test is just a necessary step that you need to have to
No,
make
I
sure
know,
that your app is stable with all the changes.
But if you just have a small PR, then that's still sort of manageable, right? I mean, I can still oversee the change, but at some point, it might become harder to oversee all the changes, everything that is affected by a series of edits.
Yeah. What
Uh,
about security though? Like you did try Claude security audits at
Audits,
some
yeah.
point. Like what's your experience with that?
Yeah, it goes through all the like common security patterns and CVEs and things like that, and just checks your code to find those patterns.
In the dependencies as well?
In
Like,
dependencies as well, yeah.
that's nice.
Just checks those. That's pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
This is just another chore you don't have to do.
Yeah.
So for that, it's pretty good. And you can,
Well,
of course, also add that in your pipeline or merge requests, whatever. Yeah.
will it also give you like the link to like the CV itself?
Yeah, just it writes a whole markdown file with all the findings and steps how to solve it as well.
Oh, that's
Uh,
nice.
So it's pretty useful.
Yeah.
Of course, still have to double check that if it's actually good, but
Yeah.
it's still it
Yeah.
finds some things, and you can just check that out and read it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you?
it's a step you usually might not take at all, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Ah.
I'm not checking for CVEs most of the time in my code.
Never. Oh, sorry.
right?
No, I
No,
shouldn't say
yeah.
that.
I keep my dependencies up to date. But,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
I try my
that's-
best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
okay,
I'm not
but
same for me.
I'm not hand concatenating SQL strings, right? I know
Yeah.
that, right? But I'm not actively pursuing if they are in my dependencies, for sure not, right? I'm not digging into my code, dependency
I don't
code.
know.
No.
I feel like for SAST or Dust, then using slightly more deterministic tools are usually
I
a
mean,
better approach than
if you actually have to guarantee something, right? Like if you have to have an ISO rating, then definitely you're not getting away with it. But,
I mean, they may help for a quick scan, I suppose, but especially if you're just scanning your diff, right? But I mean,
it's not only that, right? So let's say you forgot to put your middleware of auth, for example.
Stuff like that is also found, right?
Yeah.
Just better know how to set up your middleware if it's correct on all the routes you created.
It's hard to do that deterministically, right? So with AI, it kind of opens up these possibilities to check for these things.
Yeah.
I mean, one other thing about security is like the security of the AI itself, right? So you said something earlier about running it on a sandbox, for example, where it will just run amok and run everything that we'll try to do. And then you said you had a Kubernetes connection to your AI. And now what? So if you're in a sandbox and it tries to delete stuff, it will just happily say yes.
That's the thing, right? You have to very carefully configure the permissions of your tool, right? And I don't mind. I don't need to feel the need to approve every read it does. You know, if you want to do reads, by all means, but I just don't want it to make changes, right? Changes have to happen through code and not through CLI, whether it is my cloud CLI, my Kubernetes CLI, or whatever.
I mean, well, it's still possible that somebody will just say, okay, I'll allow everything. Is there a way you think, should there be a way to kind of limit this as a policy?
I mean, they removed the YOLO mode is no longer enabled by default, right? That used to be a thing that they thought like, maybe we shouldn't just have that as an option.
I think for most AIs you can, right? So I mean, if we look at Claude Code, you can configure permissions.
You see also now newer tooling where you're just in GitHub and it runs in its own container and does the changes there, and then is completely separated from your system and your right. That might be the future for this kind of stuff, to actually isolate it completely, because who knows what it's doing?
To actually sandbox it.
To actually sandbox it. And now I say, oh yeah, sure, you can do a Go build or Go run to test my Go code. That's great. But if I didn't notice it sneaking in some Go code somewhere that actually RMRFs my entire disk, then that can happen, right? So that's still not really safe.
Or accidentally put a space after the first slash, for example.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff can happen. So containerizing it or something like that, it might be next step to actually trust it a bit more.
Yeah. Now, what I'm more afraid of is connecting other tools. Like, for example, if you want to get a feedback loop between your Kubernetes cluster and your Terraform apply or something like that, right? So you apply something failed on the cluster, then you want to create that feedback loop.
Yeah,
it can also read logs, right?
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
It's kind of nice, but at the same time, then that same kubectl command that it used to read the logs, is able to delete things because well, you can configure it. I know.
That's using your own.
It's using your own.
You should
profile,
give a separate profile to your MCP maybe or something.
Yeah, you can do, but you don't need MCP to keep.
No. They can run on Claude, for example. They will run something on the console level, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you can give it fine-grained permissions, right? So you can say kubectl star is allowed, right? Then you can do it. You say kubectl log star is allowed, right? And then it will only do log stuff and not.
I mean, I've been scared once when it tries to run a psql command after I ask it to scan my code, and I thought like, why do you need to have access to the database? Luckily, I catched it.
It can be good, right?
Yesterday I had it run, and it was great. It was making stuff in the database, checking if it's actually created.
Locally? That's
locally,
fine.
Yes.
Let's keep it at that.
I don't connect anything to any production system. That's
next thing
sure.
you know, you forgot. This is staging or production.
That's true.
And then it will try to roll back a table or something like that. That's unhandy.
And tying into slightly different subject, but I assume most of these, the work for these companies that we are mentioning here is all sanctioned. How do you feel? I don't know if you work with any companies that have less of a progressive AI policy, right? How about those companies that are lagging, that have not approved the use of a range of tools? What do you?
I mean, usually it ends up being this shadow IT, like what I said before, right? As in, like you use your own tool. Like you can't really limit that kind of thing. So you
Yeah,
cannot
exactly.
really limit
But
the
it also
adaptation.
opens up to a wide range of problems, right? If people start to use, because you can say as a company, you can say you can't use AI, or you can only use this very specific in your browser tool, which is no good for when you're doing any kind of development. But you know that people are going to use
for sure
every available tool out there anyway, right? So how do you feel about that? Should companies, they risk a lot, I think, right?
Yeah, their IPs could be leaked, right? As in, like the code that they share, those contexts that they share, are available somewhere to be used to train different things.
Exactly.
Right, so
you must be very careful with which tools you use, which LLM providers do you use, and which license you're using them with, right?
Yeah.
For most tools, the free version, your
You share
data
everything,
is everything you put in there. You sign away to the LLM party. They can use it for training purposes and do with it whatever they want. I think even if you use the non-business license, they'll also still train on your data, right? Or use it to improve the models directly. Yeah, you have to really use a business enterprise license before they stop doing that, right? And there's even more expensive licenses which make sure that the model you're talking to is, for instance, resident in the EU, in case you want to throw some PI data at it, right?
That becomes very.
See how scary it is.
Yeah, that becomes very doubtful if that's going to go well. Yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, there are providers that give you this option, right? That have like educational licenses or government-based licenses where they give these guarantees. And I mean, you pay for the service, right? It becomes incredibly more expensive, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But if your company's policy is you can only use this very useless tool, and everybody goes wild in the background secretly, locally, then you risk.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's probably better to have to make something available than to just hope that no one starts doing their own thing. Yeah.
Okay, I think, to close things off a little bit, I think that could be a topic for our next banter. Like, how would you make a guardrails or sort of a contained risk environment for your AI and your workspace, right? In terms of development, for example, for developers.
Yeah.
Like, how do
that's
you
a good
create
one.
those things?
It's just it really depends on what you're doing, right? If you're working with PII, then you really have to think about it. If you're working with with your IP, there's other considerations.
Maybe it's a hybrid situation, right, where you have some part of your development workspaces can be you can utilize AI there, but in some other part, then you probably
if it's high security stuff, then there's no way to do that with just signing some contract with OpenAI and saying we'll promise. That's not going to work, right? At some point, you might just have to start hosting your own models or something like that.
Yeah. Definite possibility, right?
No.
I've actually been trying to play around with local models, but using it as a sub agent,
It's a great excuse to invest in expensive hardware as well. Yeah.
Do you have any video stocks? Good.
Yes.
So close things off.
Yeah.
What do you think of the AI and the current workspace environment? Like your current work, like should it be embraced? What kind of things should it be changed? What are the pain points?
Yeah, I think people should embrace it. I also think people have no other option than to embrace it.
Resistance is futile.
That is definitely true. I think companies should stop lagging on AI policies. I think everybody should have a very up-to-date, as much up-to-date as humanly possible AI policy.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't stop it anyway. The best thing you can do is make sure that everything happens through the right channels. Right? And people don't use these Chinese tools or free tools.
Still works.
Fix that. I also think that well, maybe taking AI classes is a bit much, right?
No.
But like I said, AI is a tool. You need to grow some skills with the tool. So you gotta, you gotta dig deep into the web, browse YouTube, browse articles, blogs on how to use it and how to become better with it, right? I think that helps a lot.
My current place where I'm doing stuff, there's just an internal channel as well, but with just people talking about what they're doing, how they're using it, what they're finding, and that's quite a nice resource for finding, discovering what's happening, what's possible, what's good, what's bad.
And I think one thing that we should do is stay critical to it. So don't look at it from a rose-tinted glass and say everything is good. And
definitely, that helps to have some skepticism about it, right?
Yes.
There's some bubbling going on around the AI for sure, right?
Allegedly.
Definitely. Also on the stock market, but also just in what people are trying to do and what they think it can do. That's definitely something to be careful about, that you don't get too overhyped and start blindly applying it. No.
All right. So when are we moving to Schiermonnikoog and start driving buses?
I still need to get my driver's license for buses, so it still takes some time.
You can enjoy something a bit longer.
All right. I think that's it for today. And let's see you again on the next one.